All right, so hopefully I'm recording right now. Um, all right, so once you log on to zotero.org and you land here, one way to start organizing based on what you find, and this is, I'm talking now to you as if you were the students, yeah, and this is something that you can tell your students as well, is they can, you can start creating folders here, yeah, for, you can always add new folders for whatever class project you have. So if you're in a class called, FYS 1002, you can create a folder for that, and that's where you can put the articles or books or whatever results you find and organize them there. Now here, looking at this, yeah, I have an empty list, but now you can start populating, and populating this list. I'm going to open a second browser here, and yeah, I'm going to show you this. It's easy to use all these options. So one search works very well. Research databases, most of them communicate very well also with Zotero. The library catalogs, OhioLink and OPO also communicate well with Zotero. So pretty much whatever you want to teach the students, if you want to do a one search, yes. And you want to work on mental. I'm just using some random keyword here just to show um, how you can work with one search. Yeah, and here, this is a fairly typical kind of research exercise where the students use one search to find, let's say, some peer-reviewed articles or some books. And it's also very basic, especially for FYS and Dynasty 1500. And here they can always use this limiters. The results that they find here can be very easily, as I said, exported to Zotero. And um, as I'm going back to Zotero, there is this icon here which says add by identifier. So one way would be to use DOI for articles if you want, ISBN for books. However, not all books have an ISBN or a DOI, as you all know, especially older articles and books, which is why you can use the URL instead. And URL is truly what makes the web version the most versatile and the easiest to use for students. So if you find, for instance, an article like this and it's a peer-reviewed article, they can simply copy the URL behind the EBSCOhost uh, firewall here, copy it, and then paste it into the URL identifier. And then once you click enter, all the metadata is going to be imported here. Yeah. Do not use the permalink. The permalink is here. If you use the permalink, I've noticed it does not import the metadata. It gets stuck at the firewall, but the URL really works. And see, it populates all the fields with the author, the article, the year, page numbers, etc. And the same goes for other types of results. I'm going to go, show now a book. Yeah, you can use a book. Um, and I'm going to do the same thing here, enter the URL. It might take a second or two, yeah, but here it is. If on the other hand you want to use a specific database and you're working from a database like, let's say, Academic Search Complete, Academic Search Complete is just as one search EBSCOhost, and it works really well to do the same. So I'm using a different example here. Let's see, as sinful nature, and here too. If you're finding, an article that you like, you can do the same thing. You also have the option to export. Exporting, you can do direct export to Zotero, and it works. Uh, it works if you have the downloaded extension, but I haven't gotten to the extension yet. So I'm going to leave that for part two, which is the app-based version of Zotero. But just using the URL again works really easily, and I'm going to show you again using the URL here. In the meanwhile, I'm going to switch back to the conversation to see if there is any question. If somehow I'm missing something, it's hard to keep my eye also on the dialog box. Feel free to jump in and ask questions. Yeah, so this is another example. It also works well with other non-EBSCO host databases. JSTOR, for instance, is one of them. Yeah. So here too, yeah, this is another, I don't know, it looks like it's more of a review or something like that. But here too, yeah, the URL, copying and pasting it works really well. Yeah, so you see it's all, and you can see if you wonder, well, what is the order in which they are uploaded here? If you look at the bottom, you can see that there is a time log here, date added, and you can look, this is was added at 11:21:15. This one was added at 11:23:30. So you kind of know that they are, the most recent one is at the top. And this is one way to organize them. They also get reordered sometimes based on the type of material they are. Um, Not all databases work equally well, and there is always there are always this problem ones like Nexus Uni. And you'll remember with Nexus Uni, it was really hard to upload to RefWorks, and Nexus Uni, it just the way it is set up um, makes it really, and the way it works with it communicates with bibliographic management tools makes it a little bit more complicated, and it is the case with Zotero as well. So this is one of those databases that are kind of an exception, but I don't know. I'm just entering a keyword here just to look at publication type. Usually we go in here to see, for instance, newspapers or news items, and looking here, for instance, this item, yeah, Financial Express. This is a newspaper article. It's always, there is this export citation option that allows you to do APA MLA Chicago kind of on the fly. It creates the citation right there. You can copy it and paste it. This would be one way to bypass the difficulty of making it communicate um, with Zotero. Because if you copy, for instance, the URL, just as we did with the other databases, and I put it here, you will see, it says sign in LexisNexis. It doesn't import any metadata. It just gives you the firewall. So it doesn't do a very good job of that. There's a way to partially bypass this difficulty, but that is with the extension, and I'm going to show you later how you can do that. However, even that only takes care of part of the problem, because ultimately I think the best solution to this databases that do not do a good job communicating with Zotero or RefWorks or other similar tools is to use their own tools that are kind of inbuilt to create a citation. And that, or you can still do what a lot of students actually do with things like EasyBib. You can manually create the item. So if you're really, running into difficulty, you can tell them, okay, you found that article. you know, here, newspaper article, try to create the citation yourselves, and then they will go in and, enter title here. Well, actually, the title would be here, then the author, and then they would do a manual entry. But we would like to show the students, usually the easier way um, to create bibliographies. So this is kind of a measure of last resort. But as I was telling you, for instance, let's say I'm going to try to go to a website now to show you how some of these websites work. Um, and this is for instance, let's say the students would like to, cite a web page like this. Copying the URL and entering it is also helpful. Um, because you see, it enters some metadata. It says it's web page, 19th century, the 19th Mental Measurements Yearbook, website Nebraska Press. This is the URL, and when you access it, and when the students create the bibliography, that is going to be listed there in the reference list as an internet source. Yeah, so as a website, and it's a lot easier than to create it manually. It might not be perfect. You might still have to do a little bit of tweaking based on the format, whatever information the website itself feeds to Zotero, but I think it's a step forward compared to RefWorks. Um, One thing that I found interesting is that if, for instance, you are teaching the students how to use um, one search, and I'm using again a kind of a random keyword here, and they refine their results to articles, and you say, okay, now you're going to find your academic articles, peer reviewed, use these limiters here, um, and now you say, don't forget to copy the URL and to put it into Zotero. If by mistake they copy the whole page, like here, and they do not go in a specific article to copy the URL there, but they copy just the results page in EBSCOhost and they enter it here, they are offered this list, and they say, oh, which article do you actually want to enter into your bibliography? Because often students don't realize that they might make a mistake and they copy the wrong URL. Instead of copying the article, they copy the result list in the database or in one search. And this is always a good step because it reminds them, well, choose the article, and then they can choose the article that they want to add to their bibliography. And then there is this add button. So once they built their bibliography using that URL, they can select all these items like this, and then with they can do now. You see up at the top here, there are some buttons. One of them says citations. If you put it, let it hang over. This one says create citations. The other one says create bibliography. So when you click create bibliography, you can choose what output you want, what style for the bibliography. This is I think the default is on Chicago in yours, but this is the MLA 8th edition. You can go in here and choose. These are the top ones used: APA, Turabian, Chicago, but you can also add other styles. Yeah. For instance, Vancouver, yeah, is another one that is used by mathematicians. And you can search for a specific style in here, and you can add it to the output style. But let's say we do MLA, ninth edition, the most recent one. Let's see here. Oh, this one is active already, so we don't need to do that. So in that case, you can change the output from here, and then at the bottom you can do copy to clipboard, and then when you open Word, yeah, they can go in here and do paste, keep source formatting. So keeping the source formatting gives them this, yeah, bibliographic list MLA ninth edition. And you see there is the website here, always going back to for instance OWL at Purdue, where the manual is a good corrector for glitches. And you remember RefWorks suffered from this error. Sometimes it would capitalize the title of a journal, and then you tell the students, well, you have to go in and uncapitalize it. This one does the same, unfortunately. So it seems to be a more general problem with how metadata is created in the databases and then how it's uploaded into these tools. So if you come across something like that, everything is capitalized, you need to go in and fix by hand. But overall, you see it looks pretty clean. The syntax, the order is pretty good. And I think that, in terms of quality, is fairly comparable to RefWorks, and it's really easy to use, as you saw. For as individual items for creating in-text citations, you can just select one item, and here it says create citation, and then what it does, it basically puts the name of the author in parentheses. You can copy it to clipboard and put it in text. It is not as good, and this is where we're running into some of the limits of the basic version. If we want to do a page number in text citation, the app-based version is a lot better for that. But for what we do in most of our classes, especially those introductory courses we teach, FYS and INST 1500, I think this kind of covers most of what the students do, searching one search for articles, books, searching. Also, I did not show you the catalog, but the catalog is just as good. Yeah, finding in Opal and also in Ohio Link, finding any item, for instance, let's say this book, copying the URL and adding it here. Yeah, see, it populated all the fields. And if you do the same in, let's say I'm
Raj, I
going
have
to,
a question.
yes, go ahead. Hi.
Hi, my understanding is that that URL might not be the best, that clicking where it says persistent link might be the best. Have you guys found otherwise?
Yes.
That can go to a session link sometimes, and that the persistent link might be helpful
Uh,
instead.
there are problems with the permalinks. So the permalink is supposed to be a persistent link. Uh, Persistent links in JSTOR work. Permalinks in EBSCO host databases do not work. They put you behind the firewall. And then the permalink in is not always available for all the items that the students find. So
We
the
might want to talk about that offline with Alan too. My understanding is that permalink should be what's used because it does then allow the proxy to be put in there if needed, and that the URL up top would be more of a session link, and that can be dangerous. So we might want to look into it. I don't know with Zotero what the best thing is.
well, with Zotero, as I said, if using the permalink is not going to import the metadata. Um, and that is one of the issues. With the URL, it works really well, and this is all the demonstration I've made so far is based in the URL. Now the question is that indeed, I mean, for the session, this might suffice for the session for the students to create the bibliography or do in-text citations, they also link. So if any you want to link to the title and you double click on it, normally it links to uh, here it has the library catalog. Um, trying to see here if yeah, it links to the item. I think it does a better job at that with the app. So if that changes, if the URL changes, then the link might die. But otherwise, I think once the data is imported, it is imported and it's here, the metadata, I mean. So I have not run into problems with the URL, but I ran into problems with the permalink and with the persistent link, it worked in some cases.
I just add to that, Raresh, that, and I know you've not gotten to the browser extension,
Right.
because part of the issue is once you have the browser extension on your own personal computer, you never go back to anything else other than using that extension, because it's, I think, really quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that, when you use the extension, it picks up the correct URL that's a permalink, and it gives you the metadata. Um, but the issue that Raresh is, I think, very rightly pointing out is if we're on public terminals, we can't easily, we can talk about the extension, but we can't easily demo that.
Yeah, I would say with the extension, the uh, the app version, this one, uh, it does not, and I'm going to show you, it does not have an option for uploading URL. So you see here, you can only enter ISBN, DOI, and the other identifiers, but it does not have a URL uploader. So this makes it a little bit more difficult. I will talk about it in a moment, but I was just pointing out that the web-based version is really good at talking to web-based content with URLs. So for students who are, often who want the easiest shortcut to getting a bibliography done by copying URLs, I think that this works best. This would be kind of like the 100 version, yeah, the basic version. Um, and it is versatile. It allows us to do both bibliographic lists and in-text citations, although imperfectly, the latter. Now, I'm going to move on to the advanced version. Do you have any questions so far?
Would you mind making the screen just a tad bigger?
I'm sorry?
Could you make your screen just a little bit bigger?
You mean zoom in?
Yeah, if you could zoom in, that'd be great.
Is this better?
That is better. I feel like I'm at
Okay.
the eye doctor. Thank you,
Okay, no
Ramesh.
problem. Yeah, sure. Any other questions before we move on? No questions. Okay, so this is one way for the students to get in and upload their information. Now, I'm going to show you, as I said, the other version, which is the app-based one. With the app, um, all the labs in the library, as I said, have the Zotero app added. But for this to work properly, what you need to have is um, a, an extension in the browser. So the extensions not, I looked around the labs and the labs do not have a built-in extension in the browser. So when the students will log in, they will not have the Zotero connector added on to their browsers. And I looked at Edge and also Chrome, but it is easy to send them to, let's say, Zotero extension, and then you name the browser. Yeah, Chrome if they want to use in Chrome or Edge, and then they can just go to it and it's very easy to go to it and then add it. In my case, it's already added, so I don't need to remove it. And they can add it on to their browser. And then once they have it in, it's here, yeah, Zotero connector, which makes that connection between the browser and the app. You see that the app is also kind of synced to the web-based version. So even if you work in the web-based version, or the other right way around, if you only work in the app and you want to sync the two, this button in the corner that says sync with Zotero.org, if you click it, it's going to sync the two versions, the web-based and the app-based version. So you have the same items in both places. So this is the first component of the Zotero app. So the app itself, then the extension, and then there is a third component, which is in Word, this plugin. And again, I looked around the computer labs or in the library, and the Word that is built into them does not have the Zotero plugin, which would require you again to make sure that the students do the add the plugin to the Word, and they would do so from the application itself. The application itself has the tools, and then the tools, you see add-ons here. When you click add-ons, you have Zotero for LibreOffice or for Word. And then for Word, if it's disabled, they can click enable. That might not work, however, and I came across that, which is why if that doesn't work, they would have to go a different way, which is go into, see here, go into preferences, and then from preferences, they would go into word processor. And then from the word processor, they would click install Microsoft Word add-in. So this might be a little bit tricky, yeah, because it has multiple steps. And this is why I'm saying this is more for the advanced sessions. If you have a little bit more time to make sure that the students not only have the app, but they also have the extension in the browser, and then the add-in or the add-on, sometimes terminology varies, enabled for Word. And once that is done, then it is easier for Zotero to talk with the browser and with Word. Why is it important to talk with Word? Not so much for the reference lists or for bibliography, but for the in-text citations, because it's a lot easier when you type in Word and you need to do an in-text citation to do so on the fly. So the app-based version allows you, as I said, and I'm going to go back to my results here, my search results. When you add, you can add by ESBN or DOI. Again, if you find the articles, for instance, this article is an older article, it doesn't have a DOI. Yeah. But newer articles have the DOI, and you just copy it and paste it. The same with the ISBN. Do not do the ISSN because obviously the ISSN identifies the journal, and then it won't be able to upload it here. You can also do manual entry here, but you can also do the export option. For instance, if you're here and you say, okay, this article, I'm going to maybe try to find a different article. Yeah, this one, again, you can do the export to direct export to Zotero. And when you click save, it's going to do the Zotero connector. You click OK, and then you choose if you can choose the folder where you want the item to go in. And in this case, Mine went here alphabetically, yeah. But from here, even if you don't have enough time there to quickly click on the folder, when it says choose the folder, that option disappears in a second. You can still take it from here and move it to, let's see, does this work? It works here. Let's see, does it work here? Yes, it works to move it here. So you can try some of these options, moving the results around in the folders that you want. So this would be one way to send items to the app-based version of Zotero with export from an EBSCO host-based product, like one search. Yes. And then looking here at the library catalog with the books again, if you find the ISBN, you can always copy and paste the ISBN into the app-based version. Or if there is no ISBN, you also have this option here. Since you have the extension, you can always click on the Zotero connector and then save to Zotero. This would be another way to bypass the difficulty of not having a book with an ISSN. And when you save to Zotero, this is the thing, the Zotero connector shows you all the ways in which you can export the metadata. And my advice is always to choose the top version, because the way in which I think it prioritizes those options is if you're in a database, or if you're in a catalog, or even a website that is kind of designed by people who understand metadata and understand that they need to create a version that is exported to a bibliographic management tool, then that will appear right up at the top. If they do not, then it's just the basic website metadata, and I'm going to show you how that impacts the options that you have. So always going for the top, for instance here, library catalog, yeah, and then you can choose, for instance here, where do you want this sent. Yeah, you send it to citations and you'll see it appears here. There is the book with all the metadata. Yeah, so the extension works well, the Zotero connector, to send items to Zotero, including, as I said, problematic databases like Nexus Uni. So going into Nexus Uni again, it works really well with the Academic Search Complete, JSTOR, yeah, the big EBSCO host or non-EBSCO host databases. With Nexus Uni, it works so and so. So if you find something in Nexus Uni, here it is, and you want to send it to, you're using an extension, the Zotero connector, save to Zotero. Yeah, you see it says save to Zotero web page. It gives you two options here. Yeah, and if you choose this one, I'm going to choose again citations, just to see what it looks like. You see this article from the Financial Express from the 2nd of August in Nexus Uni appears here. The metadata itself, it has the title and the title of the article, and then the URL. And that in itself is not enough, because it doesn't do the author, and yeah, it doesn't do, for instance, website title. So this is why I'm saying, when you're having results like this and you want to create the bibliography, I'm going to do a right-hand click here where it says create bibliography, and then the option would be citations in MLA 9th edition, copy to clipboard. And I'm going to go into Word again and do the keep source formatting. It doesn't look right. Yeah, let's see again. Create bibliography from the items. Let's see, what's this? Yeah, it's there are. I'm seeing that it kind of gets stuck there. Um, it doesn't create the right bibliography. So I'm going to try to ignore that top result. I'm going to use just the first two to create bibliography, see if that makes a difference. Go back into here. Oh, yes, I was in the wrong button. I was in citations instead of being in bibliography. This is what happens. You can easily make this error, yeah, where you have citations and bibliography. Citations are just for in-text citations. So it looks like I closed the actual Zotero. Okay, so here we are again. Create bibliography. Make sure you have bibliography and not citations, and you copy to clipboard. And then you go in here and boom, yeah. And as I said, this looks better, yeah. The although it has this glitches, the errors that I was mentioning, the capitalization here, you would have to go in manually and fix that. Nothing new here because RefWorks used to do the same. But looking here, this is a newspaper article, and it's consistent with the data that was uploaded, which is the article title, and then the link, and then when it was accessed. That is not enough. That is not a correct citation. So this is why there are still some databases that are problematic. Next is SUNY, even with the app-based version. And in this cases, you would still need to either use that inbuilt citation tool, this one, export citation, or create a manual citation. But other than that, yes, with this, with the app app-based version, you can again select all the items you want cited. You do the right click. You click create bibliography. You make sure you choose bibliography and not make the mistake I made, which is to have citations. Then you copy to clipboard. You choose the output style, and here you can always manage the styles from here, and then say OK. Go to Word, and always in Word. Um, do the when you do pasting, you do keep source formatting, yeah, so it looks nice. And one other good thing that I was mentioning here is that for uh, citation, in-text citation. So let's say that you're writing the text. Yes, I am writing a paper on something and I would like to cite now, do an in-text citation. And you can do the citation, yeah, and you're still doing MLA 9th edition. You're doing copy to clipboard. Um, you have the option, for instance, here, since you have the Zotero add-on, to go here, you're writing, yes, and you're in the middle of the sentence and say, here, I would like to cite to do an in-text citation. You can click this add edit citation. Word could not communicate with Zotero. Zotero is running and try again. Yes, it looks like Zotero has been closed again. I don't understand why. Let's reopen it. And okay, now it should work. Add citation. Okay, Zotero is open. I choose my 9th edition. I do fields. I say, okay. And then now you can say, okay, so what do you want to do an in-text citation for? Let's say I really want to use that paper on sinful nature. You get all the results that have sin, sinful, the life of our blessed Savior, Jesus Christ, tormented by sinful thought. I'm going to use this article, yeah? And then if you want to do the page number, you can do a left-hand click and choose the page number that you want. So say the page is 27. And then once you add the page, yeah, and click enter, it looks like this. Yeah, I'm going to delete the first parenthesis that I did. So this is another option that sets it apart from RefWorks, and I think it makes it a lot more versatile for students and especially faculty who use a lot in-text citations and who know what they are doing. But it requires for them to know what they are doing. This is why this is more the advanced version, where they can work with the app-based version to do both in-text and then um, create the bibliographic list. One caveat, Zotero create just as RefWorks can create duplicates. So if you find the same article, you forgot where you put it, or you forgot you found the same article in JSTOR and then in one search and you upload it twice, it's not going to recognize it as the same article and it's going to create duplicates. So keep an eye out for duplication. And it looks like we're close to 12 o'clock. I would like to open it up for questions now.
Not a question, two things. Thank you very much, Raresh. This was great. I think great overview. But one other thing that you can do with Zotero is that you can create, and you could do this in Flow, which was a version of RefWorks between RefWorks Legacy and RefWorks New, but you can create groups and share your library with the public or with people inside and outside your organization. I know John Tanzi and Michael Levin had done that for their whiskey class at one point. I'm not sure if they still use Zotero or if they're using Blackboard now for that, but that is a possibility.
Yeah. And the other one that I was mentioning, the app-based version of Zotero links to the articles or the books, and it links to whatever version it finds. For instance, here, this one, generalization and threat expectancy, this one is linked to an actual PDF version. You see it has the attachment, and when you click on it, it's going to take you straight to the PDF, yeah, Routledge, and that happens usually if there are items that are easily downloadable. And it links directly to the article. There are others who are not, but you can still link to the website. This one links to JSTOR. Yeah, so I think where there is an open access version, it downloads it. Where there isn't, it takes you to the database or to the library catalog where there is a book. Yeah, and trying to see. Yeah, it looks like it does. Just it looks like this is, yeah, this looks like it's the one. Yeah, the EBSCO host. So it takes you there. So just mention that to your students as well, that once you have your items linked here, you can either have access to the full text or you can get linked to the full text directly from the app-based version. So it's another advantage of the app-based version. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you for this. This was really helpful.
You're welcome. And I think you're welcome, Shiva. For our needs, the web-based version I think is easier. It requires fewer steps. For more advanced classes, and especially if you're working with students working on capstone projects where they need to build over time, and they need more options for in-text citations than for creating a magazine of articles and resources that they can link to in full text. The app-based version might be easier. So yes, Alan, maybe you can say something about the LibGuide.
Yeah, we did create a LibGuide for the whole process of moving over to, I put it in at the beginning before we started recording, but I will go ahead and put it in again. Okay. There is a LibGuide just strictly for Zotero. And of course, they can get help that way as well. Exactly.
Yeah, so, and yeah, there's the website here that Alan created. There's plenty of information here. You can always go back here. It's a very step-by-step thing. There are videos, some of them that are created by other people,
Like
but I think the
Raj.
two videos that I created, this one here, are the ones that I created. So they're a little bit more customized to, Otterbein. So anyway, as I was saying, we need to keep working at it and also promote it through our liaison areas. And in the next couple of days, we'll make a decision, hopefully, which version we like to advertise to our liaison areas, if we want to use those old videos we created or some of this training session. And since there will be some, at least one or two other training sessions over the course of the semester for the wider Otterbein community, we can also use those. So, yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to, if there are no other questions, I will stop the recording right now. It looks like. I'm going to figure out how to stop recording. Okay.